help us keep it going. Every listen, like, and subscription to The Unfolding presented by the Love Foundation helps us do more than just share powerful stories. It helps fund real therapy sessions for Black women and girls across the country. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a podcast, you're helping us show funders that this work matters, that this community is growing, and our mental health support deserves real investment. So if you've been moved by what you've heard, take a second, like, subscribe, and share. It is a small gesture that can make a generational impact. Today's guest is a licensed marriage and family therapist, entrepreneur, founder of Bene by Nina, host of the Do Tell podcast, and creator of this new web wellness app called Nebbi. Nina Westbrook. Hi, Nina. Welcome.
Hi, Rachel. So good to meet you in person or over on Zoom or whatever we're on.
We're meeting. That's what matters.
All these platforms. So good to be here. I'm really excited to get into today's conversation.
No, I'm so grateful to have you here. In my research, I was just like trying to be like, oh, okay, Nebbi, new. Okay, let's figure out what this is about. And so it seems like it was built for a space where most of us are like actually living in. So it's like not this crisis where everything's falling apart, which sometimes can be, but also like not things are thriving either. Kind of in this like in-between space you speak of. So yeah, like I'm glad you're making something for us who are in that in-between space, because like there's never that like room for that sometimes. But like what led you to that? Like how did we get here?
I mean, first of all, there's so many things that kind of led me here. Most of all, life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom. I'm a busy mom of 3 young kids that are getting much older. My son just turned 9 this past weekend, and 3 girls that are 7. So I'm kind of immersed in this really incredible community of moms and women and entrepreneurs and professionals who are doing all of the things all at one time, and also dealing with and coping with these new discoveries in our bodies. We're entering perimenopause, menopause. There's so much happening at this time in our lives. For me, I've got aging parents. So we're now like the sandwich generation, my peers and I, and my little community and group of friends, and through so many of those conversations, trying to be supportive and connecting and being vulnerable and sharing our experiences, I sort of learned that there's so many of us who are going through the exact same thing in this moment. It might look a little bit different, but really at the end of the day, it's really high functioning, really well intentioned people kind of struggling to find their footing and their grounding. And what I recognize is that like you said, there are systems in place to help us through crisis. There are systems in place, like when things are going really well, then we tend to focus a little less on our wellness. But most of us are really, 90% of us are really in that in-between space where we're not quite thriving, we're not in crisis either. And so what kind of tools could we create, and AKA Nebbi, that could help support people in their journeys no matter where they are, and something that's actually doable, tangible, and fits into everyday life?
Yeah, no, I love that. I feel like there's this like kind of like this like space where sometimes you just like, if I'm not screaming or crying out for help, I won't be heard. And like this almost like the self-silencing that happens when like, oh, everything's okay, like I'm doing good, I'm fine, but like, is this all there is to it? Like, is this like my max? Is this where I can like operate at my highest work? So I love that there's this like you're thinking of those people, because like so many people just think like bare minimum okay is great, and like not really wanting more for themselves or thinking they deserve more, especially as Black women, just being told like, hey, just be good where you're at. So I love that you create this space.
Yeah, especially like even to go even deeper than that, a lot of times our threshold to endure is extremely high.
Yeah.
A lot of people know when we are feeling burnt out. Symptoms of burnout are so quiet. Sometimes they're really difficult recognize if you're not paying close attention. And so we as women are have been unfortunately built to kind of endure, to push through, to persevere. And with that comes with the success that we receive from being so strong, from wearing all these hats and by getting it the job done despite how we feel, and what's going on inside, the success that comes from that, the praise that comes from that way, it does not lead for space to actually say, you know what, I am tired and I need to take a break. I'm kind of like, I'm noticing these things in my body. I'm noticing that I'm feeling isolated and lonely, even though I have this community around me. Nobody really quite understands exactly what I'm going through on the inside. And I'm not telling anyone, and nobody's asking me. So I think it's this very difficult loop that we sort of get caught in. And it's so important for us to be having these types of conversations so people can start to recognize, like, hey, there's something more there, and let's explore that and feel good and confident and safe enough to do those things.
Yeah, no. Heavy on the no when no one's asking, because there's like this whole, and I can only imagine that a lot of people know you from your husband and his career, and like, but you have been doing this in your space for a very long time and like holding down this whole like mental health like thing of just like showing up and like being a mom, being an entrepreneur, being like having multiple jobs. Like when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, a podcast host. Oh, she has this app. Oh, she's like a founder of this company. Like so much. And this high pressure to appear that everything's okay and everything's together, almost to the point where people are like, "Oh, she's got it handled. She's good. She's covered. Like, no need to worry about her. Like, she's good." And I know for me, I struggle with that sometimes. If no one asks me how I'm doing and like truly like ask me, like my first like reaction is be like, "Oh, I'm good," and then like someone's like, "No, like how are you?" Like truly, like I noticed something that you're not doing your best. Like, how are you? And then that's when I feel like I have like this like permission to like share how I'm doing. So like being in public spaces, being like seeing like you have everything together, like how are you able to tap into that inner like mental check-in with yourself?
That is really, really tough because I do think people see me as doing all of these things. And that saying, check on your strong friends?
Yep.
It very much so is like when I'm asking someone how they're feeling, or when I'm having a conversation with a friend or a loved one about how they're feeling, I already know things are not cushy. Like, I mean, how often are things just going great? Like, we may have
Mhm.
seasons where we feel really content. We feel really happy about where we are. We're not really looking to move forward ahead, or we're not even looking to catch up. We're just in a place of stillness, maybe in a place of rest. And that feels really good at times, but also it could feel a little like you could be a little on edge because you're like, your mind is telling you, well, I need to be moving forward. I need to be progressing. And we don't really value rest and resets the way we should. But I feel as though I'm always trying to get beneath the surface. I don't have a lot of widespread relationships
Mhm.
that go very deep. But with the ones that I do, like we get right into it. And I'm not someone who tries to mask how they're feeling. I'm very vocal about what I'm feeling. I've learned a long time ago in order to do all of these things that I had to really rely on the support of other people. And as a licensed marriage and family therapist, that could be hard sometimes because my natural instinct is to want to take care of other people. And so many people are kind of going through it right now, and I'm helping people to carry the weight of the world and all the things that they're going through. And sometimes I put myself to the side where I'm like, okay, my friend is going through this. So I'm going to be strong for my friend. But I also have this little thing over here on my side that maybe we don't get to in this conversation. And sometimes if you continue not getting to your own needs, not getting to your own feelings, and not checking in genuinely with the people around you, that can build up, and then there becomes a tipping point, right? And
Yeah.
that's where that fatigue sets in and the burnout starts to creep in. So
Mhm.
for me, it's just being very aware of that and knowing when it's time to really reach out for support and creating moments where I can really take care of myself and get the help and that I need.
Yeah. I love that. That's like that topic of vulnerability and that ability to share and say, "Hey, I need support in this. I need help in this." And that's something I'm very still much learning and how to like overcome. And I have like a bunch of like tabs saying like how to be more vulnerable, ways to practice like being more open and share what you need and stuff like that. And I'm still work in progress, not there yet,
We
but
all are. We all are.
yeah, and I really admire you for, like, acknowledging that and saying that's something I do now and something I practice actively. Every year, we do a survey for the people in our cohorts, just saying, like, "What is something you guys need help with?" as we, like, build out our programming, build out our topics of conversation, our themes for the year. And the 3 things that people were most focused on were financial stress, given, like, the times we live in, that's real. Anxiety, that's always a top one for us. The girls are
Mhm.
anxious, and then burnout. And so burnout is one that we just saw start coming up more and more. And
Mhm.
what burnout looks like, especially in Black women, is a lot different. And then we go back to that high functioning, resilient, strong, magic, like expectations to be okay, expectations to be the strong friend, the friend who's there for them. So as a licensed therapist, as someone who's been in the space for a long time, as someone who is literally doing the work to help women with burnout specifically, what have you noticed that burnout in this gray zone looks like today? And how has Nebbi been like a part of that solution?
Totally. I think that what we are starting to see more and more is that on the journey, sort of, so to speak, to burnout, there's a lot of isolation. There's a
Mm,
lot of isolation where people are afraid to speak out or reach out for help. People are consistently operating like as an overdoer.
mhm,
And what we're seeing is that when people are consistently operating at an extremely high level, high functioning people, high functioning women, there's never a time where their body is able to relax. And when you're consistently operating at a very high level, you are consistently subjecting yourself to stress, right? And
mhm.
cortisol levels go way, way high, and you become chronically stressed,
Yeah.
and you don't recognize all of the small signs and symptoms until something really big happens, like you're noticing shifts in your blood pressure and cholesterol, and you're pre-diabetic, and all of these symptoms and signs that are happening in our bodies because of the stress and the high level of intensity that we're constantly working from. Then people start to kind of tune in and lock in. But by that time, there's this affect of just loss of motivation. And it's real. What the tricky thing about burnout that people don't quite understand all the time is that it's not something that you can cure with a weekend vacation, staycation. It really is something that has to be treated every day through the systems that you're creating and building for yourself. So a lot of the time what it looks like is just isolation and stepping back and stepping out of the typical cadence of what community life looks like for you, and fatigue and loss of appetite and depression and anxiety and all of these symptoms can be signs of burnout.
Mhm. No, that's very real, especially seeing it like through I think a lot of times we're taught like, "Oh, just take a little spa day, a little self-care day," and like that's going to be the quick fix of it. But like it took time for me to get to burnout. It's going to take time to get out of that burnout. And like I think changing your habits and also like recognizing what is like leading to that burnout, because there's some things that we don't have control over, which is like just like the day-to-day of the world, and just try to make ends meet and be like what people need to be. But then there's things that we do have control over, and like checking in with ourselves, being there for ourselves, and like building that community, because that isolation part is so real. Like our theme this year is all about like how we heal in community, because we noticed that a lot of people were just like starting to like be like, I could do this on my own, or I don't want to ask for help, or I have too much going on to like even like engage with other people. And like that's literally the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. Like you're supposed to really just be with others and be in community with others, whether it's virtual, in person, like spiritually, like just find time to connect with people. Yeah. This episode is coming out during BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's a time where we see a lot of like people coming for like support during Mental Health Awareness Month, which is like all across the board. But for July, BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month, we're specifically focused on like the people who are often marginalized, who often like take a lot longer to be diagnosed, take a lot longer to say, hey, I actually am struggling, I need help. Like there's like this cultural expectation to like just like rise above it, or like, you know, just like not let it affect you, and just be like, oh, that's just like part of the deal, you know? So having spaces where you can have these emotional check-ins, like making them so accessible. Because like for at the Love Foundation, yes, we provide therapy funds, but our whole mission is to make mental health as accessible as it possibly can be. Not everyone that wants to do talk therapy, which is totally fine, but there's other means to like be mentally well.
Right.
What have you noticed in your space of working in this space of like, how is mental health becoming more accessible, especially for the BIPOC community?
You know, that's a really great question. And it's such a dynamic approach that I think we should all be taking. I feel as though um, through all of the work that I do, there's always a mental health awareness component where we are doing a lot of educating around what wellness, and mental health actually looks like, and how people can take more agency over their own mental wellness, and no matter where they are in their journey. So whether that's through our academy and making sure we do a lot of education and provide a lot of resources and wraparound services for the students and their families that help them to build healthy habits early on around mental health, and creating a safe space where they can then learn how to effectively cope with all of the stressors and the environmental struggles that they're faced with that are beyond their control, right? How do we um, provide them with the tools necessary to be successful and in life, despite of coming from underserved communities and under-resourced communities? Then there's my conversation card game. It's a game, but really what it's about is getting to know the people around you in your community, having conversations that we tend to shy away from in day-to-day life, and just really getting a better understanding of self and mental clarity, and just practicing those skills and how to be vulnerable and how to connect with people on a deeper level. And then I have Bene, which is my wellness community that is providing resources and tools. But what I realized is that I wanted to go even further, and in order to provide resources to as many people as possible, we needed to create something that is fully customizable so that the app itself can meet people where they are. And accessibility to mental health resources and tools is so important and always a part of our mission. Typically in the past, mental health has been something that's been reserved for the wealthy, right? And so our job and our goal is to figure out how we can educate and create tools and programs and technology to help people no matter where they are in their journey. What I really love about Nebbi is that it's very different from the other tools you might access. It's everything is evidence based. We use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, liberation psychology, there's so many different avenues that we use in order to create this experience where people can check in with themselves on their own, and then receive 3 evidence-based tasks that are super simple that they can complete in order to help improve their mood that day. Because at the end of the day, what mental wellness looks like for all of us and what it should look like is small daily practices and building habits over time that help benefit us and provide us with the resources, the energy, and the time and the mindset that we need, especially in today's really tricky and challenging society. There are so many different things and stressors and social media, and there's just so many things pulling at our attention. And so through Nebbi, we really have been able to create a tangible tool that can be accessed to anyone with a smartphone and Wi-Fi. So we're really, really proud of that. And I feel as though whether you are someone who enjoys therapy or you're someone who's not quite ready for that yet, you're going to get a therapeutic adjacent experience through the app, because it's all about education. It's all about information and helping you to learn and collect that emotional data for yourself, on yourself, and build that emotional self-efficacy so that you can know exactly what you can do whenever you're having different feelings and emotions in order to actually feel better.
Oh, I love that. And it's calling back to earlier how you were saying how like you want to be the friend who can support everyone, but you also want to like protect your own space. And I love how your solution was to create an app to support even more people and be there for so many people. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like that speaks to your heart and like what you really value and like how you're really out here trying to do the work of making mental health accessible. So just thank you for that. Um,
Yeah.
what are like some of the everyday we spoke about habits and tools, but like what are those everyday habits that people underestimate that deeply like, impact your emotional wellness? I know you mentioned there's like tasks that Nebbi offers. Like what are some of those that like people can like actually access and like help with their emotional wellness?
You know what's so interesting? Just checking in is clinically proven to
Mm.
actually help you feel better. Something that simple. Acknowledging where you are and what you're feeling in that moment, because when you have that information, you're able to make decisions, informed decisions about how you're going to behave moving forward. And what that looks like on a daily basis is that if you wake up and check in with yourself and you realize that you are feeling drained, you are feeling maybe a little down, or you have so many things that you have committed yourself to for the rest of the day,
Mhm.
might mean that you should take a look at that schedule and figure out what is necessary, prioritize those things on that list for today, and figure out what you can take and remove from your plate with as little friction as possible. But at the end of the day, we have to prioritize ourselves and our mental health and our mental wellness. So, you might be have to learn to grow to become someone who isn't as disappointed by disappointing others. And you have to become someone who's okay with saying no and upsetting someone else. I love this whole idea of just like no, period. I can't. And I've become such an expert of saying no to things in the most lovely, kindest way. But really, it's just about prioritizing self and gaining a better understanding and awareness of yourself, what your limitations are, and carving out time for yourself, being really intentional about that. That's a really small thing that people underestimate. You talked about self-care and these like grandiose ideas about what that looks like. But for some people, self-care looks like waking up at 5:30 to complete your workout before the rest of the house gets up. And you have that moment to yourself. You're achieving something really amazing. You're getting a huge dopamine boost from the exercise. And that's great. And then sometimes it looks like waking up an extra 15 minutes early so you can have quiet tea at the table by yourself before the day starts. So just being intentional about carving out small moments for yourself throughout the day, trying new things, building new habits, learning new skills, outside of the day-to-day is something that also is always going to help give you a little bit of a dopamine boost. Doing something really kind for someone else. Small acts of kindness are proven to help improve our own mood. So there's so many small things that people can do. And I think that in today's social media culture, and there's thing, and I'm hearing a lot more conversations around the type of information that people are sharing as it relates to mental health, social media, and who should be being careful about where you're getting your information from. And just, I think one of the things that you can do is create a space where you're asking yourself, why is this person saying or suggesting the thing that they're suggesting? If we ask ourselves that question before we take different things from social media and run with them, I feel like it'll help. That's more information that'll help us determine what is the proper path for us. And so there's just a lot of intention that has to happen right now, and we're capable of it, and it could help make a big difference in your life.
No, truly. And I've already seen it make a difference of just like that concept of checking in, like that. I remember I was like doing it and I was like, oh, it's like, how are you? I was like, I feel like, okay, I'm feeling happy, and it's like content or like calm, or and I was like, oh, we're getting deep into it. And I was like, okay, let me think about this. Like, how big is my happiness stuff? Like, so that moment of just like sitting with myself, I think in this like go, go, go world where you're just like expected to be on to the next thing, have your mind be split in different ways. Like half your mind's here, half your mind's with like the people you're with, or like you're never fully present. And so having these 60 seconds to be truly present with yourself has been really like eye opening, and just being like, oh, like I can just like be for a second. I can just exist and who I am, and like this knowledge of like trying to know myself more, trying to be more vulnerable. Like it all starts with just like that self awareness, that self trust, and like practicing like these things that get you out of these like constant loops and cycles of like burnout and like just trying to get out of it. And like it starts off with just that little check in. So no, I appreciate this so much.
That's such
Um,
a good example too. It's so funny. You wouldn't imagine how many people say there are no positive emotions on.
I was like,
And I'm like, you okay? So
yes, I was happy. Like,
let's do a little reading. Social media has made us a
mhm,
little hesitant to read through things, but when you look underneath happiness
yeah,
and you see the range of emotions that exist in there, it's so enlightening and it's so informative and so educational. And that is the thing that I think um we all stand to learn is sometimes fear is not necessarily a negative emotion. Sometimes fear pushes us outside of our comfort zone so that we can achieve something new, so that we can try something new. And it doesn't have to be some a fear for our lives. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be fight or flight. Sometimes it just means that we're doing something and we're achieving something new. And sometimes it is a life-saving tactic where we feel fear because we need to run and get the heck out of here.
uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So I really like the emotional piece for Nebbi. It is truly a tool that helps you build your emotional IQ. And
Yeah.
and that's what helps get you to that mental clarity.
Oh, yes. I just one more thing, because I'm just like things are connecting in my head, and like I just almost like the scary negative emotion is that gray zone because you're not connected to yourself, and you're not, and like I'm just like, oh wow, that makes so much sense, because like you're operating in a way that you're not experiencing life, you're not experiencing feeling, and that moment of being like, how am I feeling, where is this feeling coming from, what's causing this, that breakdown of it. Oh, Nina, I'm thinking, I'm feeling it right now, so thank you. Yeah, I'm really, it's
I
really funny.
There's so much. My good friend, Dr. Raquel Martin, she talks
Oh, I
about
love her, she's on
liberation
our board.
psychology. Yeah, she talks about liberation psychology. And, one of the concepts from liberation psychology that I really love is this idea of differentiating the stress and the anxiety of the world versus my stress. Like, what
Mm.
is actually coming from me? And if it's not coming from me, then what can I do to make a change and make a shift? And if it is coming from me, or if it's not coming from me, how can I process this and be vulnerable. And then what can I do? Like, what type of agency can I take over my own circumstances, my own life? Understanding that the stressor is not caused by me, but what can I do to move forward, and adding a little action to the cognitive understanding that we're exploring. What can I do for myself? I think when we have an answer and we take control over our actions, it helps give us a little bit more boost and motivation when we feel like we have a little bit more control over our circumstances.
Yeah. Oh, that control, that's something I'm really working on. It's like, what do I have control over and what is not mine? Like, I don't claim this.
Life is crazy. Like, I'm a full-blown adopter of this idea of organized chaos. I don't
Okay.
think you can ever have like things are never going to be controlled when you have children, because
Yeah.
like you're the most valuable little important thing, and it's not, you have no control over it. It's like running over there, jumping off of things, and doing a whole bunch of stuff you would not do for yourself. And so this idea of like creating a safe enough space as for each of us as individuals to explore between doing the most and doing just enough and going beyond that, but still within a system, right? That we can feel comfort in, like space to grow and make mistakes and change our mind and evolve and still be on a steady path, right? So I feel like we could all use a little bit of agency, but also like organization in the chaos of everything that's going on around us.
Speaking to my heart right now. Yes, absolutely need to organize that chaos a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nina. We're coming up on our time, but I just am so grateful to have you in this space and so grateful that you are using your tools and your resources and your background to like create spaces for women and everyone to check in with themselves and be emotionally well and just like more tapped into their feelings. I feel like if people are just more in sync with how they're feeling, we wouldn't have as many issues as we have right now. Just like, hey, like, are you mad at me? Or are you mad at something else? But
Exactly. That kind of first life. Like you must something. I'm sorry. Something must.
I'm just trying to enjoy my day.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you in my prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and
Going
prayers.
that way. This is really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And before you go, though, please let people know how they can support you, how they can find you, how they can be in community
Oh
with you. If
my
you want.
goodness, I'm a terrible. Okay, I'm on social media, at Nina Westbrook, and you can download Nebbi in the App Store, Google Play Store. We have a 3-day free trial, and then also you can follow us on Instagram at Get Nebbi.
Get Nebbi, y'all. No, thank you so much.
Yes.
Spell it. But thank you so much, Nina. It's been so lovely having you here, and I'm really gonna think about that, how I'm feeling today, and like hold it with me and do that check in. So thank you so much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And everyone to check in with themselves and be emotionally well and just like more tapped into their feelings. I feel like if people are just more in sync with how they're feeling, we wouldn't have as many issues as we have right now. Just like, hey, like, are you mad at me? Or are you mad at something else? But
exactly. That kind of first life. Like you must something. I'm sorry. Something.
I'm just trying to enjoy my day.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you in my prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and
Going
prayers.
that way. This is really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And before you go, though, please let people know how they can support you, how they can find you, how they can be in community with you.
My goodness, I'm a terrible. Okay, I'm on social media, at Nina Westbrook, and you can download Nebbi in the App Store, Google Play Store. We have a 3-day free trial, and then also you can follow us on Instagram at Get Nebbi.
Get Nebbi, y'all. No, thank you so much.
Yes.
Spell it. But thank you so much, Nina. It's been so lovely having you here, and I'm really gonna think about that, how I'm feeling today, and like hold it with me and do that check in. So thank you so much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us for a very special episode of The Unfolding, presented by the Lovin Foundation. At the Lovin Foundation, we are committed to showing up for communities of color in unique and powerful ways, with a particular focus on Black women and girls. Our resources and initiatives are collaborative and they prioritize opportunity, access, validation, and healing. Since our founding, the Therapy Fund has provided financial support for therapy to over 13,000 Black women, girls, and non-binary individuals across the country. This year, our goal is to provide free therapy to at least 6,000 more. If you'd like to join us and invest in generational change, visit our website at theloveandfoundation.org for ways to give. To stay updated on new episodes and any future programming, follow us on Instagram and Meta, or check out our website at theloveandfoundation.org.